If you're a midlifer who constantly feels exhausted, even though outwardly your life looks hugely successful, I'm going to explain why that is and what you can do about it. In this video, I'll cover why you feeling on the brink of burnout in midlife is not a personal failure. It's a perfectly understandable reaction to what's going on around you. I know because I was in it. I still am to some extent, but I've learned how to respond to that feeling of being squeezed from every direction and thinking there's no end in sight. What I've found really helps is understanding why we are so wrung out and then being able to make some better informed decisions about how to get out from under all of this pressure. My hope is that by the end of this video, you can breathe a huge sigh of relief and say, it's not just me then, and start to make some concrete changes that will break you out of the cycle you probably feel caught in right now. Let's start with how we got here. Burnout was a term coined in the 80s. The World Health Organization defines it as an occupational phenomenon, not as a medical condition. It's a syndrome that is caused by chronic workplace stress that hasn't been successfully managed. There are three core dimensions to it: feelings of exhaustion, increased mental distance or cynicism, and reduced performance or feeling ineffective. The funny thing is, unlike depression or anxiety or stress, burnout is perceived to mean we've given everything to our job. We've sacrificed family time or weekends or even holidays to doing more work instead. We have heroically given everything to our job until it's made us ill. Some people even perceive a high level of stress indicates that we're important because we're in constant demand. I once almost cut short a family holiday to fly back to do a big pitch. Fortunately, we didn't actually get shortlisted, so I didn't need to do that. But it made me wonder, what is going on? Why do we do this? I think there are three main reasons. The first has to do with the specific combination of circumstances that we find ourselves in midlife. If you're Gen X, like me, I am almost certain that you'll be feeling this. You know how in a house there is usually a load-bearing wall in the middle? Well, if you imagine that the outside walls of that house disappeared, so more and more pressure was getting put onto that load-bearing wall in the middle, eventually it would collapse. This is what psychologists call role overload. And right now, we are experiencing it more than any previous generation has faced. Right now, you may be sandwiched between caring for aging parents, you maybe have teenage or adult kids that still need your support, you have all the pressures of being in your peak earning years, trying to maintain a relationship with a partner, being worried about being made obsolete by AI, as well as everything else on your plate to do with home, family, and money. It's made worse by the thought that this isn't going to end anytime soon. And this hasn't just been building over the last few months, it's probably been building over years. And I'll come on to explain why that is in a moment. But if I think back over the last 10 years for me, I had my dad in a nursing home for 4 years with dementia. My mum now has some mobility and some memory issues, and I'm trying to arrange care for her because she wants to remain independent in her own home. I had kids doing exams and then moving away to university, so my wife and I are adjusting to being empty nesters. I started a new job 5 years ago, moved into a bigger role 3 years later, and started a business last year. And we have projects to do around the house. We've remortgaged a couple of times over the last few years with all the ups and downs in interest rates. You still have all the usual household stuff going on as well. None of that is especially dramatic. It's just life. And in midlife especially, we have an awful lot to carry. So it's no surprise that workers aged between 40 and 55 show the highest levels of stress compared to both their younger and their older colleagues. All the technology that we thought we would have to make work easier now just makes it constant. Your brain doesn't have a chance to switch off. The key question is, what can we do about it? When you're drowning in responsibilities that aren't going to go away overnight, you need a new plan. You know how they say when you fall into cold water, you shouldn't thrash about and try and swim to shore. You should lie back like a starfish and just acclimatize for a minute or two. That's what you need to do in this situation. But I don't just mean breathing exercises or meditation. I mean, find a quiet moment to take stock of everything in your life that is causing this stress and pressure. If you don't do something about this, what's likely to happen? Well, it's almost certainly going to have an impact on your health if it's not doing so already. And our generation, when we're asked, "How are you doing?" is famously guilty for replying, "I'm fine." I know this from speaking to a lot of my coaching clients and the people that come to my workshops. And they say up to that point, things didn't seem bad enough for them to need to do anything. How crazy is that? You're thinking, I'm struggling, but things haven't got bad enough yet for me to do anything about it. It's a bit like driving down a motorway and you see that you're nearly out of petrol, but you go straight past a service station and you think, I'll do something about that once I get to empty. It's crazy. Why would we do that? I think it's because of our conditioning. We were the latchkey generation, raised to be independent, self-reliant. If something needed doing, we just thought we were as well doing it ourselves. Don't ask for help, don't complain, just get on with it. We set out into the world in our 20s and we had all of that self-reliance, which was brilliant. And we had a plan, a template, largely fed to us by our parents, which was get a good job, find a partner, buy a house, start a family, work hard, and you'll be all set for retirement. And look how that turned out. Aside from the fact that that model totally disintegrated, you probably found along the way something really unsettling started to happen. You put all of your energy into achieving those milestones, and I bet in your 30s you were ticking them all off the list, and you were thinking, this is it. By my 40s, I'm going to be sorted. And your 40s arrive, and you think there's maybe one more promotion or one more house move I need to make, and then I can think, I've made it. And you get that, and you think, here it comes. This is what will have made all that hard work worth it. But you don't get that feeling of elation. There is no winner's podium. So you think, oh, I've missed something. Maybe it's that next achievement that I need to make me feel like I'm summiting the mountain. So that's what you go for. And that cycle just repeats year after year. And we're conditioned to think, I'll be happy when insert next life goal here. And that hasn't worked. So now you're here. That was me at 50. And I've spent the last 6 years figuring this out. All of that self-reliance that's got you through everything up to this point is not an endless tank of fuel that's going to get you through the next 10 years and beyond. You're at a really critical point, and I want to leave you with one last thing that was the turning point for me. Before I get into that, I'm going to be making more videos on a range of topics about midlife, so if that's of interest, hit subscribe so you can follow along. So this turning point, it was lockdown, enforced rest. I was out of a job, and I suddenly became aware of how exhausted I actually was and how long I'd been running on empty for. And when I looked at what I wanted to do next, I had a really important realization. Every decision comes with a life cost. That big promotion to a high pressure job might pay really well, but what's the life cost in terms of its impact on your health, your family time, and your happiness? Do you want to pay that price? Is it worth it? Here's the point that I want to leave you with. I realized that I was at stage 6 of the 12 stages of burnout. This is the critical point that I mentioned earlier, because stage 6 is everything okay? Yeah, I'm fine. Everything up to that point, stages 1 to 5, is the pace of today's world. It's what we do to power through in midlife. Stage 6 is make or break. If you deny you have a problem, it's a slippery slope to full burnout. It can be a very gradual, creeping exhaustion up to stage 6. And then from that point, if you're not careful, it can happen almost all at once. If you recognize yourself at this point, I would encourage you to do something about it. Don't wait until your tank runs empty on the fast lane of the motorway. Lie on your back in the water and think about the life cost of what you're doing in every aspect of your life and where you need to make some changes before you get to stage 7 or 8 or 9 or 10 or 11 and then 12. This is exactly the sort of thing I coach people on. If you want to learn more from me about how to tackle the challenges of midlife, watch this next video, or you can join the waitlist for my next free workshop. The link for that is in the description. Thanks for watching.